consider the condition of those who've passed away from the current epidemic that we are experiencing. And let us hope that those who make decisions for us will take the right road in protecting the lives of those who still exist. With that in mind, I say so be it.
Okay, so hello everyone. We are
Hello.
studying
Hello.
the Spirit's book. Can you see my screen? Hmm?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Uh, okay, so today the topic is fear of death. Is the size of the good, or do you want bigger? Let me try this bigger.
Thank you, beloved. Oh, Jesus.
Okay, so we are studying part 4 of the Spirit's book. It's fear of death. Tiago, can you read for us?
Sure, yes. Fear of death. Question 941. The fear of death perplexes many. Where does this fear come from people if they have before them the whole future? This fear is misplaced. But what do you expect? People have been thoroughly brainwashed since childhood to believe in heaven and hell, and who have retained this belief along with the notion that most likely they will go to the latter, because whatever belongs to human life is a mortal sin for the soul, are understandably fearful. However, most people who are indoctrinated at an early age manage to throw it aside when they grow up. Uh, example, if they are capable of forming a little judgment, they become atheists or materialists because they are unable to accept it. Thus, the natural effect, though unintentional, of such teaching is to make people believe that there is nothing beyond this present life. People who persist in their mistaken childhood beliefs fear eternal fire that burns without destroying. Death should not instill fear in virtuous persons because, with faith, they have the certainty of future life. Hope leads them to expect a better life than the present one, and charity, which has guided their actions, gives them
Hello.
Please mute your phone. Okay, okay. Go ahead.
the assurance
Read the
that they will.
paragraph again. That should not steal.
Okay. Death should not instill fear in virtuous persons because, with faith, they have the certainty of a future life. Hope leads to Hope leads them to expect a better life than the present one, and charity, which has guided their actions, gives them the assurance that they will not encounter anyone that they may have reason to dread in the spirit world. Carnally minded people,
Yeah.
more attracted by physical life than by the spiritual one, only know material pains and pleasures. The only happiness they feel is in fleeting satisfaction of desires. Their minds, constantly occupied with the difficulties of present life and painfully affected by them, are tortured with perpetual anxiety. For such individuals, the thought of death is terrifying because of doubts about the future and because they have to leave all their feelings and hopes behind when they leave Earth. Spiritually minded people who have raised themselves above the artificial ones created by the passions experiences a joy that is unknown to the carnally minded. Even in this lower life, the moderation of their desires calms their spirits and gives them serenity. Happy in the good they do. Life has no disappointments for them, and its upsets glide over their consciousness lightly, without leaving any painful impression.
Okay. Anyone has any comment?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yusara, it's very important that at this moment, the society is going through this difficult situation, that they hear your open mind on this very, very important topic. Your open mind.
Okay. Any more comments or questions? No, comments. At this moment, we are still in the comments. Thank you, Orlando. I want to hear your impressions, everyone. It's not so hard to talk about death, is it?
I have something to say. I believe that being spiritist, it's a big plus for us, because I do feel that it gives us a more hope for the future, less anguish about death, less fear about death, and I believe that we have something that a lot of people that may not have in their lives, and spiritism it's a great plus for us to have in our lives in order to not have that fear. And there was one time there were Julie was doing that about serenity, and it really clicked in my life. It was a great thing to hear how it is, and how to be serene at this time of chaos out there. And it really fit into my life, and it was great.
Yes, absolutely. Everyone that has a sense of immortality, but I mean a really one, because normally we talk about, you know, the vast majority of people belonging to a certain belief, a certain religion. The majority of the religions talk about the immortality of the soul. So they come to a number that 90% of people in the world believe in the mortality of the soul. But it's not making that much a difference, because when it comes to, you know, to contemplate the idea of returning to, you know, this immortal soul, however, whatever is the way they understand it, this is going to happen, everyone is afraid. It's natural, because first of all, we will always have a tendency of being afraid or cautious in relation of what we suppose to be the unknown. And also because we understand when we study, we just finished studying part 3 of the Spirit's book, when it talks about the moral laws, being one of them, the law of preservation. So upon returning to the physical realm, our spirit comes with a certain preparation, so to say, an understanding that the time they will have in the physical body that they will have is a very precious one. And therefore, understanding, even if at an unconscious, so to say, level, a spirit level, we will try our best to maintain the life of this physical body that serves us. But even when people have this, idea through their beliefs and religions that the life goes on, of course, each one has a different perspective, they still fear death. Even the spiritists, they fear death. Because as they say here, as spiritists, although we know that death is just something related to the physical body and not to our spirit is immortal and is going to be forever in eternity. We don't know exactly what is going to happen, or we don't know exactly what kind of experiences we are going to have in the spiritual world. Because depending on our behaviors, actions, much more than knowledge, we will be invited to be in certain, let's say, nice regions on the spiritual world or not. So everything depends on what we do and not exactly on what we know. In fact, sometimes what we know may even get in the way. Why? Because those that know what are their purposes here, what they should be doing, and are not paying attention to that, are not making any effort to change their ways, they will have more responsibility in relations to their, so to say, negative actions, as opposed to those that didn't have the same understanding, the same exposure to spiritual values. They will, not be held accountable as much as we are. The fear of death sometimes, like I said to you a few weeks ago, sometimes maybe for spiritists that have this knowledge and understanding, and like you said, Ruth, they should fear less at least, or understand more the whole process and the need for this process. There is always that moment when is going to be the moment of separation, when your body has to perish, when you have to leave momentarily your loved ones behind. And so I think sometimes there is more fear in relation to that, to the process, to the goodbyes, the farewell, than
I
necessarily
agree.
just,
I agree with
yeah.
you. I just one thing more is that I believe that we should, have that forgiveness, ask for forgiveness and forgive others, so you don't leave to the last minute when you're like, oh my God, I'm living, and now I am in this edge where everything is going to pass into your mind. But working every day on that, forgiving others and ask for forgiveness, so you don't have that, on your back, let's say.
Yeah, that is exactly that. Um, you start with all this knowledge, with all this understanding, taking different positions in life. And that's why, the studies are so important, because they give us knowledge, they give us uh, material to reason, for reasoning, and to lead us to understand that the best thing for us to do, the best course of action, would be this or that, in order for us to be, let's say, to actually take advantage of our time on earth. Because most of the times what happened, Ruth, and you said it well, is when we return, and we start looking behind, and we say, and we see so many things that we could have avoided. I mean, regrets. Like you said, it could be so easy. It could have been so easy for me to go to this and that person and just, forget about things and try to have an amicable relationship, or to have forgiven a person that asked for forgiven, and my pride didn't allow me to do so, and now I'm there, I'm looking at me naked, so to say, spiritually speaking, seeing all the errors, all the things that I did, that it's so much smaller than the one that person committed. And then what happened? We stay in the spiritual realm filled with the regrets. And so we have all this material, we have all this understanding, and we should be living accordingly. There is a famous author here in the US, Divaldo Pereira Franco, quite often mentioned here. He was a professor at UCLA. His name was Leo Buscaglia. And he started giving a course on love, and in the university, not carnal love. And one of the things that he has in, I think the first book that he wrote is, and that stayed with me the whole time, is that we should live as if death was just an arm away from us. And everything that we would do, we would be thinking about that. If I were to die in 2 hours, would I be happy with my my behavior now? Instead of just what would Jesus do, we could think, what would I have done if I knew that today is my last day on earth? Unfortunately, this can be a very morbid way of living, and people may not feel that much prone to think about it, but would be very beneficial to us, and it would prepare us much better in terms of our behaviors, in terms of how we position ourselves in life. What else?
Sarah, in the same
Yes.
way, we have to forgive ourselves for mistakes that we did in our journey. It's like that for sure, and of course, and forgive the others too. And the time is to be us to go back to the spiritual world, make more. I can't say easy, but make more pleasure to us to know we go back and we have to remember that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, always we have to forgive us. The idea of keep on living with guilt and regret alone will not be beneficial to us. We will, of course, have to go through the phase of guilt and regret, but then we have to take a positive attitude and build something better, to kind of eliminate the bad that we did. So to linger on blaming oneself is very destructive. We have just to acknowledge the mistakes, the misdeeds, and then move on with the purpose of not committing them anymore.
We learn with our mistakes, right, Sarah?
Yeah.
And forgiveness ourselves, because I find that if you don't forgive yourself also, you can bring your health to, to a point where just builds that anger, anxiety inside yourself that is not healthy for you.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Anything else you would like to talk about this question? Or should we go to the last one and then we complete this topic? Tiago, can you read for us?
Then, can
Sure.
I say something?
Oh, sorry, Sonia.
Okay. Then I think things what most catch my attention was the message here about faith, hope, and charity.
Mm-hmm.
And then things in this sentence, the spirits give to us the way, which way we can take, which behavior you can have to change things here in our life. And for me, it's so update in this day we are living, to have faith, hope, and charity. And that's it.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, let's read then this.
942. Some persons may find this advice somewhat mundane when they see them as being commonplace and hackneyed thrusts. When they say that the true secret to happiness is being able to endure one's misfortunes. Many people adopt this view, but some are similar to individuals who fall ill and demand to be cured without changing their habits. Although their physicians prescribe corrective diets, they continue the indulgences that aggravated their conditions in the first place.
Well, it's more or less what we were talking about before. You know, we have the formula, we have the understanding, we have the knowledge. Now it's, you know, hands-on work. It doesn't work any other way, and it's individually. And no one can do things for me, you know, to guarantee that my afterlife is going to be good. It's sometimes we even try. That's what, you know, especially parents try to do with their children. And we try to make their lives better. Here we are talking also in terms of the spiritual, of course, and moral values. But if they don't want to do that, they will not. And there's nothing we can do except not losing our hope and, of course, being praying, etc. But they will have to go through their own experiences. And here is where, you know, we see the importance of leaving the realm of theory and start putting everything that we are learning in the realm of reality, of, you know, start doing it. Like we always say, no one is going to make a huge change, you know. We're not going to sleep a caterpillar and the next day we are a butterfly. There is a process. We are all in this process now while we are cocooning at home. And hopefully this is what the spirits want for us, that this cocooning that we are living, you know, will make us become butterflies. With much more possibilities, no longer, you know, crawling on the ground, but being able to fly and to see the world with a different perspective. That's why, again, studying, understanding are just means to lead us to a reasoning decision, because then you will say, well, it's in my own interest. And I can see the reactions. When I act badly, I feel the regrets, the remorse. I'll have the consequences of those actions. I'm living the consequences of those actions, and I don't like it. What can I do not to have this anymore in my life? So this is basically also what this text is saying to us. Anything else? Okay, now we're going to a harder one.
Yeah. Distaste for life, suicide. 943. What causes the distaste for life that sometimes takes hold of people without any discernible reason? Idleness, lack of conviction, and often satiety. When people use their abilities in the pursuit of some useful aims that is in line with their natural aptitudes, their work is not dull. Life passes quickly, and they are able to bear the reversals of life patiently and with resignation. They look forward to a more solid and lasting happiness in the future. 944. 944. Do human beings have the right to dispose of their own life? No. Only God has that right. Voluntary suicide is a violation of God's law. Is suicide always voluntary? No. When a person undergoing a phase of insanity kills him or herself, they have no real knowledge of the act being committed.
The last, another one.
945. What should we think of people who commit suicide because they are sick of life? Imprudent people. Why did they not seek out useful work? Life would not have seemed so heavy to them.
Okay, let's stop here. For those who have the knowledge of immortality of the soul, of the spirit, it makes no sense for us to try to end a life, because we understand that there is no ending. We could think, oh, but maybe I need a reboot. Why are we going to reboot ourselves knowing that when we come to ourselves again, things are going to be worse than were before? In the sense that there will be guilt, there will be remorse, there will be the realization that really life didn't end, and we will have to start all over again. So before this alternative, the most interesting alternative to us is actually to hang in there. Even when things are very difficult, very heavy, that our inner desire would be that of, ending everything is the better option. Of course, not many people know that. Not many people understand that, like we were saying, even among people that have the belief of the immortality of the soul, even among people that are spiritualists and even spiritists, they may come to a point that they will not be able to resist. And we have to think that there will always be extenuating circumstances that will be taken into consideration to the reason why the person wind up committing suicide. In many cases, studies have shown us, and we have this book in English now by author I forgot his name just right now, André Trigueiro, that he shows there that 90% of suicide are actually committed out of mental impairment. Lots of cases of depression, chronic depression. We are not talking about mood swing here. We are talking about chronic depression. And in terms of spiritism, we also know that because of our commitments from the past, we may be suffering processes that we call spiritual obsession, spiritual attachment, that may incline us more severely to the idea of committing this act that we should not. 944 here is very clearly in saying that we do not have the right of disposing of our own life. And it is a violation of God's law. Having said that, again, there will always be extenuating circumstances that will be taken into consideration for those who have decided to go or to live life through this way. Okay. In our life history, maybe many of us here have already resorted to that. We don't remember, we don't know, we are in different situation, but the less knowledge we have about the spirit life, the more we may be inclined to give up on living. Questions, comments?
I have a comment that is also a question. I know a person, a mother who committed suicide and left 2 kids behind, 2 children, already young adults, early 20s or 19, 18, something like that. And according to what she said in her note, she was doing that for them because it's terrible mother. She had been a terrible mother to them, and it is true. She was an addict, an alcoholic, and it is true. And that she thought that their lives would be much better without her. Is that in any way an extenuating circumstance, or it's just blah?
No, it is, because, you know, if she truly believed, I mean, if that was actually her intention, to ease the pain she was causing to them and not for a selfish purpose, of course it will be taken into consideration. Still, she will have to go to the burden of, you know, seeing that it didn't work, because she only put another aggravation on them. On top of them already having a bad mother, an addict mother that was already there, now they have someone, I mean, they don't have a mother anymore, and they have a mother that have committed suicide. And statistics shows that people that commit suicide have some people close to them that have committed. I mean, they will be more inclined to commit suicide if you have someone close to you that they committed suicide. But sure, you know, again, here we always say that it's not a matter of God punishing us, because God does not punish us. It's our conscience. You know, here is like us having 2 choices. We have our free will. I can go through road A or road B. So I choose road A. Okay? And then road A is horrible. And there is no way back. Now that I'm in road A, there is no way that I can just jump to B again. and try to experience role B. I'll have to track that path that I have chosen for myself. But I will do that. I will have support, and it will finish, and I will have other opportunities to choose better. Because, you know, I'm always careful when we talk about certain topics, and I mean, death is one of them, suicide, obviously, because it's very hurtful to all of us. All of us may have dear ones that have committed suicide among, you know, close to us. Even ourselves may have been, you know, tempted to do it. And on top of everything, of all this suffering, we don't have to put an aggravation of saying, you know, they're going to go through, you know, difficult roads and this or that. I mean, it is, there's no advantage in saying that. But on the other hand, we cannot sugarcoat a situation that obviously is going to present itself in a way that you, using your reason, will know what the consequences are going to be. So we don't need to go there and just say, you know, out loud things, but, you know, we can deduce. But always remember that God is good, God is mercy, and that our prayers help. And in this sense, it can help a lot, because the main suffering that will come from the suicide is the regret, the guilt of what has caused it, the pain it has caused it to the family, to the loved ones. And if the loved ones pray, you know, talking to this person, saying, don't feel guilt, we understand, and we want to see you well, and we want to be here for you to help you in your path of recovery. And yeah.
Jussara, and I
Yeah.
think even her in this horrible situation, she had a different alternatives, right? Maybe find a treatment, and maybe she chose the worst one for everybody, not just for her, but for the kids and everybody. I don't know, this is my opinion.
Yeah, Silene, forgive me, but that's the problem that we all have. We all have opinions, but we don't know exactly what the person is going through. We don't know if she had already tried to go to rehab. I mean, you know, we don't know the spiritual history of this person, the spiritual strength of this person. It may be easy for us that we have, you know, clarity, and we are on the outside, and we are not facing the same situation, to have opinions, to present alternatives. And if we pay attention, this happens a lot. I mean, in the Spiritual Center, quite often people come to us in search of an answer, of an opinion that can ease their pains. But I mean, but how can we? We don't know the life of this person. That's why in the Bible, we have this saying, you know, before passing judgment, take the sandals off your brother or sisters for a week, because we have no idea. We have no idea what is going on now. We mean with the clarity, because we talk about it, because there are people that do not even talk about it. We talk about it, we study it, we analyze. So we know that there are, you know, mental situations, that there is, in this case, the addiction that has impaired the person even more, the person feeling like a failure. There is this spiritual pressure of obsession session that maybe in the first place took her to this road of addictions. There is so much around the pain of seeing the pain that she causes in the environment that she lives, being like a corrosive person in a certain environment. So at the end, we have to feel sorry for this person. Obviously,
of course, yes. No,
there
I'm
would
I'm
be,
not judging, but
yeah,
I'm
I
just
understand.
saying, according to the spiritism, the suicide, you, of course, in some situations you can control, of course, because I think you need to be very brave to take this, to finish your life. I think so. But I'm saying, no, I'm not judging her. No, please. I'm just saying she could find a different path for her too. Right? And like you said, we don't know what is going on in her life, in her previous life, of course. But saying
And
just
you don't even know if she tried. I mean, maybe you do, but theoretically, we don't even know if she tried, even if she didn't go to rehab. Maybe she tried by herself, saying, today I'm not going to drink. She lasted 2 days and it started all over again. And then she tried again, 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 and feeling the embarrassment of putting her family under, my mom is in rehab. I don't know their financial condition. Rehab is something that, it can cost a lot. That's why, and this is actually, you're going in the right road. This is actually what we have to think here about ourselves. There are many alternatives before we think about it, and especially committing it. Eliana, you want to say something?
What kind of advice you have to give for someone tell you he wanna commit a suicide? I'm really far away from this friend of mine, and I don't know what kind of the advice I have to give it to him, because it's not the first time. But he didn't commit. The first time I say, go cook for your daughter because she needs your cook right now. She have to go to the school, but I don't know what I can say to him no more.
This is a very serious thing. And regardless of all the good intention that we may have, all the clarity and understanding that we have about, life goes on, suicide is not a good alternative for you, etc., 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 etc. We are not professionals of the area. So if someone comes to me and say, I'm contemplating the idea of ending my life, I would say, so let's go now, or let's call now immediately, those numbers, the suicide line, etc., that can help you, because they have the expertise for that. And it is too much to ask of a person, or to put on a person the burden of, he came, talked to me, and committed suicide anyway. I'm a failure. I mean, we are not professionals. We don't know, and we should not venture in such a difficult path. Okay? We can say, as a spiritist, what can I do for you? Do you need someone to stay with you tonight so you don't feel alone and you don't feel tempted? I will go and stay with you. I will go and pray with you. I will be by your side when you talk to the professional, be it the phone, be it on the, on the clinic, whatever. So this is the kind of support and actually the orientation that we receive, that in a spiritist center, if someone comes, this is the orientation we receive, okay? whether we have the possibility or not of doing that, the infrastructure or not to do that. If someone comes to you and say, I will live here and I will kill myself, we should never let this person leave the Spirit Center alone. We have to stay with the person, ask the person to call a friend, a family member, or to go, I mean, this is where we practice our fraternal assistance.
Assistant. Yeah,
Never trying to, you know, put all the information. Oh, but it's André Luiz' book. It says this. Oh, in the Spiritist book. I mean, when people are crazy, I mean, unbalanced, distressed, unless we are absolutely sure of what we're saying, we should not even say anything. Ruth raised her hand.
Yes, there is one detail there that people that may have that thought, if you go and try to get help, and if you have a child, they may take your child away from you. So there is a lot of people that may not want to call. They just call a friend. They just try to talk to somebody that will lift their spirits up and remind them of that life is good, that you have something, like you have to be there for your child. Your child needs you. So sometimes people are not even really thinking about truly committing suicide, but there is a vague thought, and they just need that uplifting, that positive outlook in life, that encouragement to have another day and pray, put your life in God's hands, and be positive in their life. And sometimes they just need a couple words that will make them feel a little bit better. Look, you're a great artist, or you can write a beautiful poem. You can you cook, you make great meals. You are a great gardener. You are, and put something positive, see the positive on that person, and remind them of how good they are. Because if you're a friend, you know a little bit of their life. So, and that's when a friend calls a friend instead calling a helpline. Because if they're calling if they call a helpline, they know that they know that truly they will, their child will be taken away, or because they are they can be a hazard to themselves. So they can, so
yeah, Ruth, but they can call. There are places that you can call anonymously, without
Yes,
going
not
to a
everybody's
place.
safe.
Yeah, you never
Yeah.
anonymous. Nowadays, you never anonymous. So
Well,
even if you think you are anonymous, you're not. Your phone is right there. They can pinpoint you.
yeah, but
Can
anonymous
can
that I
take your
mean
child away.
is doctor-patient confidentiality. Those places would never survive, and people would never look for it if they know that immediately they are going to call social service, etc. So I don't know. I'm not that familiar, but I don't believe that they would not provide the hotlines where people, although may not be anonymous, they will have the doctor-patient confidentiality. And there is, but in all of that, Ruth, I mean, it's very hard also for us to take the responsibility of the actions of somebody else. In the sense, even if as a friend, we may, I mean, the friend may call us to, like, for instance, in the situation we are living now, people are going crazy and saying, I can't. I mean, the situation in the family, etc., etc. I would rather die, which doesn't mean that you are thinking about committing suicide per se. But you see, it's, but it is too much, and we should be thinking very carefully when taking the decision of being the only person to talk to that person, and knowing that if this person commits suicide, how are you going to feel? So, Andrea, you wanted to say something? Unmute yourself, please. If you're saying something, unmute yourself.
Okay, sorry, I
Hello?
was speaking. And yes, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry. No, I was going to say, you know, the risk is too high because when the suicide happens, it's irreversible and the pain is enormous for everybody that stays behind. So I think it's, even if there is a risk, I think that's the only path to go, because we are not professionals. We don't detect, we don't see it. And when it happens, it's devastating. So I think it's our duty to do everything we have to do to save a life and let the professionals deal with it, even if there is a risk of someone losing their kids, because if they get treated, they will get their kids back. And then they will have a better life because they're living, period, right? So,
And we
So
would
then
feel
in
much
that case,
worse.
you are turning your
We
back to your
feel-
friend.
no, actually
I
not.
mean,
And no, I disagree with your comment. And most of the people know I have a very close case of suicide in my family. And I tell you, I would have done anything in my power to revert that. So that's rather personal to me. And if I had had the chance, I would have called without any consideration, because the person going, there is no reverse. And that's the only thing that matters.
the thing is, it's always like that thing that we think is not, it's never going to happen with me until it happens. And even this friend, I mean, we are talking here hypothetically, okay? What if this friend that you think, okay, a nice talk, a cup of tea, a piece of cake, and this or that, and all of a sudden goes back home and think, you know what? Yeah, not only am I going to kill myself, but I'm going to kill the kids as well, because I don't want them to go into the system. I don't want them to have to go to the burden. How can you live with yourself knowing that you could have done something? So again, it's unfortunately in the majority of the cases of suicide, if you ask someone, but did you see anything? Was there any indication? And like Andrea said, the majority of people will say there was none. There was none. Because if there were, probably we wouldn't have gone to the situation. We would have taken, you know, we would have thinking about putting the person in the hospital, or do this or that, or, you know, look for the treatments if this case is depression, whatever it is. So it is a tremendous risk and a burden that none of us will be able to carry if we think that we were negligent. Again, Ruth, there is a difference in a friend confiding in you, saying, oh my God, this life has been so horrible. I wish it was over soon. Sometimes I even, because, you know, when people talk about it, most of the time they are not going to do it. Is those that do not talk about, unless they say, I'm going to live here and I'm going to kill myself. But most of the times, those that are really thinking about killing themselves, unfortunately, will not say anything. I mean, there is an array of possibilities. I can say for myself, I would not take the risk. Okay. and I think it's, I even would like people not to take the risk with me if things came to that, you know, because it's very hard for us to see when we are in the middle of, you know, a hurricane. Okay, just one more comment because we are about to
I
end
just want to
here.
say,
Yeah.
I don't want to, don't get me wrong about, I believe that you should, if you need, you should send your friend to see a professional. Absolutely. But you can't turn if somebody just come to you, can't really turn turn your back to them and not say anything. If anything, you should, you know, at least, you know, remind them that there is a helpline, there is something out there that could help. Maybe go to their personal doctor and talk to them and get some kind of medication for whatever that may be happening, depression or whatnot. Some people really need that medication in order to cope with life. So I truly believe that there is, but my point was just that I think that it's nice to have, you know, uplifting words to a friend when they come to you, you know, saying things and instead looking to the bad side or just like, you know, ignoring it. I think that's the part that I don't like, the idea of ignoring something like that. You know, I think you have to try to show them the way in a way and bring to the professional if you believe that's necessary. Absolutely, you know, don't get me wrong there.
No, I'm just, you know, because this, like I said before, is a very sensitive subject. And we as spiritists, as, you know, responsible for a spiritist center, especially because we are recording this, we have to make it very clear. This is not our field of expertise. We go into the realm of spiritual transformation, of spiritual awakening, of good morals. When it comes to situations that requires professionals that we have, the social workers, the therapists, the psychologists, the psychiatrists, the neurologists, the one specialized in people that have been thinking or contemplating the idea of ending themselves. I mean, we have so many resources with professionals in this area. And another thing that sometimes, you know, I'm going to leave you with that, leave you all and myself as well. If we really want to be a good friend and we see a friend in despair, but you are not thinking that is the case yet to go through these avenues that we are talking about exploring now. So be a good friend, and immediately when she calls you, go to her house or send someone to her house. Stay there. Make sure that it's going to pass, because it's very easy in the comfort of your home while multitasking, having a chat and saying words. In this situation, words may help, but will not bring any kind of solution as we being really there for the person. So if that is the case for all of us, when facing this kind of situation, let's leave our comfortable zone and go and do something, or at least call someone to do something in your place if you cannot go. Okay, I call Vera. Go there, Sonia, go there. I can't, but you can. So, or it's next to you, it lives close to your home. Just make sure, let's, you know, all of us be calling this person every half an hour. You know, we make a chain of help. Because, you know, just saying, oh, but let's be truly spiritists in this way and do something about. Okay, sorry if I came up too strong about this, but those are, situations that we really need to consider very seriously. And even like you said, Ruth, as a friend, if we see this kind of inclination, don't think twice. Call the husband, call the child, call another friend, go there, tell your husband you will spend the night out, do something if you really think the person is in such a distress. And that can be, a middle ground in the situation. But if the situation doesn't improve, we should not hesitate in, helping the person to look for professional help. Okay, so I'm sorry you don't have more time, we have to finish now, but we will continue next week. There is another 2 pages. So the subject is going to be, it is still going to be about this one, okay?
Tony? Tony, are you there?
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
Yeah. Soraya, can you do the final prayer?
Yeah, I'll do the close. Yeah, I'll do the
Thank you,
close.
Dad.
Absolutely. Okay. To our beloved Father, our spiritual benefactors, all that have assisted in this beautiful lesson here today, especially with what's going on in this planet Earth. We are so grateful. We are always given strength and understanding of what life is all about. We are so grateful, dear Father. We pray for those that are going through so much suffering, anxieties. We pray for them. Help them, dear Father, and assist them in their troubles and pain. We pray for all that are working in hospitals, helping and assisting doctors and nurses throughout this land. Keep ourselves focused with prayers, dear Lord. Help us and assist us. To our own families, to our loved ones, may they keep themselves in strength with prayers and faith that we are never, never alone. We thank you, dear Lord, for this meeting again, and wait for the next one to continue through prayers and studies. And with that in mind, we thank you, dear Lord, and